right. So it's a live Patreon call if you're tuning in through Big Miracle Energy Patreon. We are live. We did not go live on YouTube, but we are sharing this with you. It is the week of the holiday season. So we thought it might be a good idea to at least start with the topic of Christmas and see where things go. So yeah, I know, Tommy, we kind of talked about it before. Pat, we talked about it before. So hopefully you came with some thoughts about that. I came wanting to read something. It's from the course. But it's really about, I posted it actually on my Facebook. I saw David had shared it from another account, but it's about Christmas. The sign of Christmas is a star, a light in darkness. See it not outside yourself, but shining in the heaven within, and accept it as the sign the time of Christ has come. He comes demanding nothing, no sacrifice of any kind of anyone is asked by him. In his presence, the whole idea of sacrifice loses all meaning, for he is the host to God, or for he is host to God. And you need but invite him in, who is there already, by recognizing that his host is one, and no thought alien to his oneness can abide with him there. Love must be total to give him welcome, for the presence of holiness creates the holiness that surrounds it. This Christmas, give the Holy Spirit everything that would hurt you. Let yourself be healed completely, that you may join with him in healing, and let us celebrate our release together by releasing everyone with us. I don't know. The first time I think I read that, I think it is in the course, you guys. I'm tired. But I remember the first time reading that, like the first Christmas we spent, because we started reading the course in October. And so it was shortly after we came across that, in the midst of us reading the course. And to me, it just gave me like a whole new outlook on what we're celebrating. It's like we're celebrating the birth of all of us, the birth of truth, the birth of remembrance, the birth of freedom, the birth of like true life, right? Like what life truly is, not this ego illusion and like, happy birthday, you get a special day. But like, literally, to me, it takes away like the specialness of birthdays and reminds you that like it's all the same day, which is, the day you realize that the light is within, which is the day you truly start to live, which for me was funny. I think the first year I had my birthday, I was like, do I celebrate my birthday? Like, I remember like grappling with that, because I was a huge, like, it's my birthday month, like it's all like super specialness, right? Like it's got to be big and shiny, and there's got to be special things because it's a special time. But yeah, this Christmas thing, like how it's explained, and how Jesus's birth is really the birth of us all, because it's really the I think the remembrance of the truth. Through his birth we remember, because he paved the way as the big brother. And yeah, I don't know, I feel like I'm rambling. That's my thoughts so far.
Yeah.
Thoughts in regards to that?
Yeah, I think like you were saying, I think he would want us to remember like coming together as one, as opposed to like it's a celebration of him as a body being born, which it is. I mean, that's what Christmas is. It's like Jesus's birthday. Um, so yeah, I mean, in regards to that passage, I think that's pretty accurate what you said.
Do you have other thoughts about Christmas?
For me, like, for what Kaylee brought up, not Kaylee.
Okay.
No, well, like blinking out.
Evelina,
No,
Cassidy.
Cassidy.
There's only
Like
so
Cassidy
many.
brought up about presence and present moment, that like stuck with me, like as opposed to celebrating like the give. I mean, I think it's great, like, um, like when you're inspired and you have like a thought about someone and it's like, oh, this person would really appreciate this gift. But I think a lot of times it's force, like we force buy things because it's expected of us, and I think that's like people pleasing. And but like in regards to being present, I feel like that's like more important, to be present with whoever is in your company, your loved ones, and sharing the presence of each other is what I feel like is the important part of the holiday. So
Yeah, I love that. I mean, to me, it's like we were talking today. Tommy, I want to hear your input, but we were talking about how people decorate for Christmas so early in the US. It just gets earlier and earlier every year. And like we're over here in Thailand, and I feel like they almost do Christmas better because they're like doing it for the Westerners that are here on vacation. But they didn't start decorating until like this week because they're so in the present moment. Like literally, our cafe we've been going to started playing Christmas music today.
yeah,
So to me, it's like people crave the presence that Patrick's talking about, but they don't realize that that's what they're craving, is those moments of being fully present with their family in this cozy environment. They think it's like the things outside of them causing it, right? Like, oh, having the Christmas tree up or the lights or making the cookies or all this stuff that they're doing so much earlier, think that's where it's contained. So if they do it earlier and earlier, I mean, soon people are literally going to be just leaving crap up all year long, thinking it's going to bring them the joy of Christmas.
yeah.
I don't know. What are your thoughts, Tommy?
Yeah, I mean, Christmas for me has always been just another day.
Ooh,
I've never, I mean, when I was a kid, I celebrated Christmas and it was a big deal.
like that was
But
so long ago,
after, it feels really long ago. That was when, because in elementary school, that was like the period. As soon as elementary school stopped, like Christmas stopped.
Tommy. Really?
There was no more Christmas for Tommy.
Mm,
But it was, but it's never been a bad thing. I've always thought it was a good thing because a
mm,
lot of people, they put so much, or I feel they put so much emphasis, like as Patrick was saying, with the presents and
mm-hmm,
with the people pleasing, where they're worried about how someone's going to take a gift, or worried about if the decorations are up, what people will think.
mm-hmm.
But it's never, Christmas has never been about that. It's just been another day. But you put it beautifully, where it's a day to celebrate our real birth, and Jesus paving the way, or pathing the way. I don't know how to say it, for all of us.
Yeah, yeah. I love that. It's like the Christmas star because I think that's big in just like the celebration of Christmas period, no matter where. Like a lot of people put a star on top of the tree, and the star is really a symbol. And then how that shares like the star is the representation of the light within us all. And, you know, for us to be celebrating and not fully realizing what we're celebrating, I think is also like a beautiful thing because you know how spirit will use the things of the ego to still guide us home. We just may not be as aware or as, you know, conscious of it. And I feel like some of those things within the Christmas or holiday season are fully used by spirit, and that your subconscious is really like connecting with that at a deeper level. Yeah. I mean, I'll be honest, like you said, Tommy, Christmas has always been like a time of gathering with family and stuff. And, you know, as a child, excitement with presents. But as I've moved away from home, it's less and less like holding that weight anymore. And now that we're like in Thailand, like the only reminder I have that Christmas is all these gigantic Santa balloons everywhere. you know, and like, oh yeah, Christmas is coming. Oh yeah, Christmas is coming. But literally, like, if they didn't have that up, I don't know if I'd really remember, you know, like I would remember, but it just wouldn't be in the forefront because it's not thrown in my face every other second. And like a lot of people are talking about like last minute Christmas shopping and all, it's just really a consumer driven event, I think it's kind of turned into. But to like break away from that being in your face all the time is interesting. Like not doing, you know, okay, I did buy a couple things for my son on Black Friday, but nothing like in the past where I'd be like, oh my gosh, we need to like stock up on this or stock up on that. So it's just been interesting to not be a part of that. Yeah, I don't know.
I think I like the fact, I mean, I do appreciate Christmas because I feel like intentionally or unintentionally it draws at a subconscious level some people like more to the true meaning, or you know, like true to like the oneness, at least momentarily, and maybe over time it does, you know, draw like more and more people to like experience like true spirit. So that's, I mean, I feel like it's a good thing. I feel like in general, like during the holiday season, people are like more like nicer overall, except for like maybe Black Friday. If you watch some videos, it can get like, out of hand. But beyond that, I feel like people are in generally a more up, like more uplifted spirit mode. Um, so I like, I mean, I do like that energy in general around Christmas. So
Yeah. Which is so interesting that you said that people tend to be more joyous. I think it's another representation like of the duality, because the leading time of year for people to commit suicide is the holiday season. So it's like the vast duality. Yeah. Either you are brought closer to the joy or fear it even more to the point where you feel like you need to take control in any way possible to escape the pain, what you believe to be his pain. I mean, my father committed suicide in November, the end of shortly after Thanksgiving, actually. So, yeah, the holiday season is well known for that.
yeah, it can be extreme, either one way or the other, for sure.
The duality.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, what, of course, because if like it's a reminder of the light within us all, to me, like the suicide is like the reminder of like the control of the darkness, or the control we believe we're being controlled. That was kind of, didn't make sense, but you know what I'm saying? Like the how we believe that that's our only escape is to end our time here. Yeah. Any other thoughts?
Yeah, it is all very interesting, and with the joy, it's funny too, because if you really do think about it, it is just another day. So all this weight that's tied into just the day or the week, it brings out joy in people, but it could be the entire the time, really, because it's just like you said with the present moment, and it's a time where maybe consciously or unconsciously people want to be in the present moment, or yeah, they want to be in the present moment. And really it's almost being that joyful all the time when you're in the present moment, and it's hard not to be joyful when you're out of it. So that's really interesting to see.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that you say that, because it's like the present moment is now. And now is just now, right? Like it's not a specific day or specific event. It's just this holy instant, this moment, where joy can be at all times. But so many people put so much weight on the holiday season being like the most joyous, magical time. Like you got to make sure it's magical for your kids, and you know, Santa Claus and all of these like high expectations that people put on themselves to ensure that they're not the ruiner of the magic, and that they get to actually accentuate the magic for friends, for family, for children. And that's just, I feel like that's a lot of weight placed on people. And then it's a lot of weight placed on the significance of a day. And we know what happens then. Anytime you place weight on it, you're going to end up disappointed.
Yeah, I remember we watched The Grinch last year. Remember The Grinch?
Yeah.
Stole Christmas. And I feel like he was just being true to himself, and he wasn't people pleasing. And you know, like, but the Grinch is like, you don't want to be the Grinch, you know. But then at the end, it's like he came around, but it was like because he really wanted to, like, because he felt in spirit to come around, like, or whatever. Like he felt like expressing his love at the end, but it was like he didn't do it because society told him he needed to do it. He did it when it was on his terms.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know?
we did a video on the Grinch last year for Big Miracle Energy. And it was really about the people pleasing and him just really being in spirit, because I think that's a big thing I've learned in the last year. And now looking back on the Grinch, if I did that video again, I think it would probably be so different, because what I've learned is like spirit doesn't always, how we respond when interacting with spirit, being in a place of spirit, doesn't always appear to be like beautiful and a happy internal feeling, because if we're perceiving it from the place of the ego, then it can feel like difficult or uncomfortable or unacceptable, or all these different, you know, pick your narrative depending on which way you're looking at it. And so if you think of it like the Grinch, I mean, was he really stealing Christmas, or was he stealing the commercialism of Christmas and trying to remind them the truth of Christmas?
Right.
And he was frustrated, right? As spirit, frustrated, like, I've told you over and over again. Like, do you not get it? This is not what it's about.
Yeah.
And so let me steal your presence to see if you can maintain the love for one another, which of course they were devastated, and it was pure darkness and sadness. And I think they even like dimmed the color on the actual movie to like play it up even more, until he shows back up and the tree first is being lit, and the star, I think it's the star, the top of the tree, that actually kind of reactivates everyone. And then he shows up with the presents, whatever. But
Yeah.
because it's the light within. I don't know. What do you think? Tell me, have you seen The Grinch?
Yeah.
Okay, what are your
Yeah, I've
thoughts?
seen The Grinch. I've seen it many times. I I always resonated with The Grinch.
I love it.
I've always liked The Grinch. I mean, I tend to like who's supposed to be like the bad guy. I've always
The
liked the
villain.
bad guy. I've always seen as like they always have a point.
Mhm.
And I feel like they're always right. Like what they're doing is like in a like how it comes off is not great, like stealing everyone's presents, right? Like that's not good. But his entire thing was, well, he wanted to take away joy. But if you look deeper into it, it's the joy is not what you said. The joy is not in the presents. It's not in the decorations. It's not in the day. It's
Yeah.
in it's within the star,
Mhm.
and it's within the I guess the oneness.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, because they all
yeah,
come
that's what I think about the
together.
Grinch.
Yeah, they
Right.
all come
Right. And
together
they're
at
like
the end.
holding hands around the
Mhm.
tree. And then
Yes.
that's when he brings the presents in because he sees that. So it's
Yeah.
almost like, oh, you guys get it now.
Right.
And
Now
then
you can have
brings all the
your
presents.
commercialism back.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, if it wasn't for the Grinch, they wouldn't have been that connected at the end. So yeah.
Right. Well, and I mean, there's so many different Christmas movies, I think, that represent spirit in all different ways. Like
Die Hard.
Was it Elf?
Okay.
Oh yeah, that is not a Christmas movie. Like,
What
Die
was
Hard
it?
is a Christmas movie.
I know that's like the ongoing battle.
Yeah.
I
It's
haven't
Die
seen it
Hard a
forever.
Christmas movie or
I
not?
can't even remember. There's a lot of fighting in it, isn't
It
there?
happens during Christmas.
Yeah. The cop movie.
Yeah, the cop movie. But the elf, he with what's his butt, he like is just constantly in spirit, but people are annoyed by him because he's like this joyous state of just curiosity and wonder, and like he doesn't even see himself as a body to the point that he eats spaghetti and candy. That's all. I feel like I'm like in a movie of the elf over here. Everything has sugar in it. Literally. It's like I'm in a live rendition of the elf.
Mm.
Extra sugar and everything.
Right.
But he, on the flip side, being in spirit, we've got Grinch, which I'm sure many people would argue with us that the Grinch wasn't in spirit, but I think he was being led by spirit, even though he seemed grumpy, doesn't mean he can't be in spirit, or being led at least by spirit. And then we've got, the elf who's joyous and, what most people would picture it as someone in spirit, but then people are annoyed because it's too much,
Yeah.
Yeah. But the elf is like I think a beautiful example of someone just fully living in spirit and has constant belief, has constant faith in Santa Claus. Like if we just say God instead of Santa Claus, um, it shows like how deep faith can guide you and allow you to be led. And the second you lose that faith, how it can be pretty dark and it can be a pretty lonely place because there's a moment where people try to take his faith from him. Um, and he starts to go there, but then he fights for it back. Yeah.
Yeah. He sticks with it.
Yeah. I don't know. We kind of went off on a tangent, I guess. Christmas movies. Christmas movies.
No, it's good because it's like just shows how these are all different narratives that play out during Christmas time and in individual lives, not to maybe that extreme, but everyone has a story behind Christmas, the way they were raised, how their family celebrated it, like the false expectations they place on themselves. Yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of stories tied to Christmas, I feel like.
Yeah. Lots of stories. And Tommy's story is it's not a story.
I don't have a story.
So if you like does your family like get together for Christmas if you're all in the same area still?
Um,
That's kind of like a trick question, I guess, because when's the last time they
I
were all
think,
in the same area?
yeah, I guess last Christmas I was with my family, or I was with my sister.
Yeah.
Um, but that was really the only time. I mean, there's like always like bits and pieces of time,
Mm-hmm.
but it's never been like an annual, oh, let's all go to this one place and do Christmas,
Yeah.
which is it's always been weird. Like it was weird because when Kaylee was talking about it, she was talking about like her experiences with Christmas and
Mm-hmm.
everything that they used to do, and then how she's sad because they don't do the things they used to do anymore. And I was like, we didn't do anything, so I can't relate. But but like Patrick was saying, it's interesting to see everyone's narratives behind Christmas because there's so many.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's just, yeah, I don't know. I think, the biggest piece is grace and the presence, bringing yourself back to the present moment. And I think, you know, even in the consumer driven holiday season, it can be, if you bring yourself back to the present moment and practice that, I think it will help a lot just in general, period, because you really start to think like, okay, in this present moment, like here I am, like you're not thinking about like, oh my gosh, I've got to do this tomorrow and that tomorrow and this. Is just like bring you back right now, bring you back. And I know like some friends and stuff, we're having a discussion in regards to that, and just like there's just so many expectations in yourself. And I feel like right now the to-do lists are like crazy. Like people are just massively rammed by to-do lists, so a vast majority, which pulls you out of the present moment. So you're really excited for this magical time of year to the point that you're decorating even early in some aspects, and you know, celebrating month long. But if you're constantly living from the to-do list, you're never actually being a part of all these things that you were like so excited for and so planful for. And I think that's just a good, in general, reminder, whether you know, believe in the season of the celebration of the light within or the baby Jesus or whatever, but it's just really bring yourself back to that present moment and know that what's meant to happen will happen, and what's not meant to happen, you can try as hard as you want, but it's not going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
When I was at my sister's for Christmas last year, I noticed that her son is like, he's like 8 now, but even when she came for vacation on Thanksgiving, I always thought the kids always lived in the present moment, and I always cherished that.
Mm-hmm.
But I noticed that they they kind of aren't, or they stop after a certain age, and it
Yeah.
always becomes what is next, or what are we doing like after this, or like with the toys, for example, like he opens one present and then it's about the next one. It's never about the current one, and then after all the toys are opened, it's always about next Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I thought it was an interesting observation. I was like, hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I think that we could go down so many rabbit holes on that. I think social media and just like the instant gratification we have with the internet has really played into that whole not being able to be in the present anymore. And I think we've gotten further. Like I've said in many videos and talked about, I think on Patreon, like many people think we have this massive awakening of consciousness and ascension and all of this, and which we know is all ego level stuff. But I feel at times that yes, maybe there is a population that's in that, but then like the flip side, we've swung so far into the ego that's like it's just like we're fully consumed by constant distractions laid out by the ego to keep us from truth more and more. And I think that you're sharing a direct representation of that. Even like small children now, it's not taking long for the ego to be built, right? Like Freud talks about that, you know, I don't even know the years or whatever, but id, isn't it? I think Freud refers to the ego as id, is built over a portion of a child's life at the beginning. um and I bet like if Freud was alive today, he'd be like, oh, that timeline's getting shorter and shorter and shorter and shorter and short, you know. um and then I think it allows for less gaps for like course shifting, like to shift in your course of consciousness.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned multiple times in some of your videos about how kids can just be lost playing with a toy, and then we kind of lose that. But this probably is happening faster, that if kids are getting more in front of social media, instant gratification earlier and earlier, then that is going to go faster and like disappear quicker, you know?
Yeah. Well, I remember I was talking to a woman who, her and her wife had decided to start to follow the course and practice A Course in Miracles. And they have a teenage daughter who has access to TikTok. And even though she's homeschooled and stuff, she constantly wants things, and they're trying to live this lifestyle of like relinquishing the weight on things. And then how do you explain to her that all these people on TikTok get to like get all of these things and she can't? And they said it has been one of the hardest parenting things ever that they've had to experience, because there is like, that's what kids see today. There's just so much weight on things. And they also talked about like travel, like kids are constantly posting videos of going on vacation here or there, and how, oh my gosh, if you don't go on vacation, you're not cool enough. And, you know, all the stories. But yeah, I think it's shortening their ability to stay in the present moment. I mean, I could go on a whole tangent about that. Like, think about little kids that, you know, are given iPads from an early age. I think of that child versus the child that never had the iPad, and I give them both like a tube of chapstick at the age of 1.5. I bet the one that's had an iPad won't spend much time with that tube of chapstick. But the one that's never had an iPad, like, may make a mural on the wall with the chat. I mean, like, it's going to literally use this chapstick in so many different ways, because it's like content. It knows like, okay, this is good. The other child's like, no, like, I'm done. This is boring. I looked at it, done. Next. You know? I don't know. Like, we're kind of going down a rabbit hole here.
I mean, it's going off the presence, being in the present. I mean, I think
Yeah.
that's what it all is trying to stay in the now.
Yeah.
That's where spirit resides.
Yeah.
So it's like the Holy Grail.
Yes. To stay in the now.
Yeah, no judgment. It's just not, you know, it's like, what do you do besides meditate? Or, you know, I mean, I feel like reading, I mean, there's certain things you can do to stay more in the present, but it's definitely difficult to do like consistently. But
Yeah.
you know, like meeting, I think we do a pretty good job when we meet new people. Connecting with people is definitely is a good exercise or something that
Yeah.
experiencing that. But
Yeah. Meeting new people.
yeah,
Conversing with people that you aren't as familiar with. Because I feel like the stories start. I feel like once you have known someone for a period of time, then you're conversing with them. It's like your brain is, or mind or whatever, is filling in all the blanks. So you're not like fully present, because you think you know how they're going to respond. And mind you, this isn't consciously going to happen. Well, I mean, maybe sometimes it is. You're like, oh God, they're going to say the same thing. I'm blocking them out. But a lot of times I think it's subconsciously, and I've noticed that so much more as we've traveled, because we're constantly meeting new people and spirit is activated left and right within. And then I'll sit at dinner with Patrick, and it's like I can be fully in the ego the entire time. Even though it's a conversation with him.
right.
You know, or even, you know, like we had a discussion earlier of like holding each other to past narratives instead of allowing for really to be in the present moment. I mean, that's super, it's not super easy. It's pretty difficult. And I think it goes with the same for like Christmas. People have these stories like Patrick was talking about, and then you go into the next Christmas season and you carry all of those stories, positive or negative, right? Like you were talking about Kaylee and how she was sad that things weren't done a way they were in the past, because those were good memories, right? But she could have like bad memories, or someone could have bad memories and fear that that's going to happen this holiday season. So it's just like this constant bringing the past in trying to predict the future, right? Whether you're trying to change it from the negative or maintain the positive or make the positive even more magical into the future, and you completely miss the present moment at all aspects.
Yeah, it goes into like the defense. The best defense is no defense. So like people are on guard, especially around the holidays when they come together with family. If they've had conflict in the past, they're already on defense because they're anticipating some kind of conflict, and then it just like eliminates the possibility of being in the present moment.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah. Thoughts, Tommy?
Yeah, no, I think that definitely it is hard to stay in the present, and there are things that allow us, like Patrick said, with meditating and reading. And I feel like a lot of the things is doing what's enjoyable allows you to stay in the present because you just forget time exists. 10 hours pass and you're still moseying along without feeling like you've drained any energy or whatnot. Like that's how I get when I watch football. Is I can spend the entire day watching football and nothing else matters. There's nothing else on my mind except that very moment, and then I turn off the game, and then there's like a million other things that come up instead of it still being the present moment, which it always is. And it really is our innate state, because when you think about it, there's no such thing as the past or the future, and it's just it's a construct made up by our brain, which is a useful tool, but it does keep us out of the present moment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because it's always trying to solve a problem. And you can only solve a problem based on your past knowledge and your prediction of the future. I mean, that's puzzle solving 101. It's like playing chess, right?
Right.
What was it?
Right. Your brain is just.
Do you play chess, Tommy?
I don't play, but I know.
Oh, I don't play either.
I know the game.
But we were watching a movie today that David was doing, Mr. Nobody, and he kind of ends the whole movie with talking about the one move in chess where your best move is to not move. I can't remember what it was called. I don't know. Whatever. But it's really like that. I don't know. I drawn a blank now.
Not make a to not choose. You can't lose if you if you never make a choice. Is that the you're talking about?
No, I was just talking about I don't even know.
Well, it's like your brain is playing chess with itself.
Yeah, constantly.
You're right, constantly for every situation.
Yeah.
And it has no regard for what's actually happening until I guess it's happening and you're focusing on it.
Right.
Which is interesting because just most of I don't know if it's a real statistic, but I read somewhere where it's like most of your thoughts are thinking about like the future or the past, and it makes up like 90% of what you're thinking about.
Yeah, because like
I don't know, I could be completely wrong, but
no, I mean that makes sense. I would say it's probably 100% of your thoughts, and like just hear me out on this, because the moments that I'm fully present, think of the moments that you're like fully present, you really don't have much memory of it. Like it's very vague. It's almost like dreamlike state because you're just so in the present moment. So there's no like memory keeping. So there's no like observer. So there's no like thoughts about it, because thoughts about it, you would have to be taken to the past, because you'd have to then be like, oh, okay, so I'm having this interaction with Tommy and it looks like he's wearing different glasses than last time. You know what I mean? Like I would literally have to be judging if I had any thoughts, right? So I feel like it's 100%. I mean, of course, like modern science isn't going to say that because they believe your brain is super important and whatever. Although there is scientific like evidence coming out of the UK that I think it's the UK. I don't know, some over the pond somewhere, that they maybe had it wrong, and that the brain and the mind are separate, and the mind is actually running the show and not the brain. So I was like, oh, you might be getting it like a scientist. You might actually get it, a psychologist. So, but yeah, I would say it's 100%. I think when you're fully in the present moment, there is no thoughts. It just is. You're just being guided. And that's why, like when you said earlier, Tommy, you're like, doing things that you love or that you like or you enjoy or whatever freaking word you want to use keeps you in the present moment. Well, because those are spirit guided things. You know what I mean? So you're in spirit when you're doing them. And so it just is, and it flows, and you don't, yeah, I don't know. I don't think any thoughts.
That's good.
I mean, it could be
I
wrong.
think not thinking is good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of what it means to be in the present, is to just not think.
Yeah. To just be.
To just be, right.
To be.
No thoughts.
No thoughts. I mean, but that's like mind blowing. Like my brain is like trying to be like, that's not possible. Like you need me, like all that's going through your head right now, because your brain right now, my brain wants to intellectualize this conversation we're having, and it's just not able to, because I just said it shouldn't be there.
Right.
My brain's like, wait, that doesn't fit into our intellectual puzzle solving mission here to remove the puzzle solver. And that, I mean, that would be light, right? That would be the light within.
I mean, that's why adrenaline sports are so addictive, because it
Mm.
forces people into the present. Or if they don't stay in the present, there's a chance they die, which is ironic because they're in spirit and they're subconsciously worried about the body, so they have to be in spirit to stay alive. And then it's like addicting, but it's because they're in the present moment.
Yeah.
Right. Like in a roller coaster, you're not thinking about what you're gonna eat in 10 minutes.
Right.
Well, and think about it too. Like I have a fear of heights, but it's weird. Like I love roller coasters and stuff, and I will go up high things, but then my legs get shaky when I'm up there, and it feels like unstable footing. But like if I were talking to someone the whole way up,
It's fine.
it's fine until I pause and I think. Right. And I'm like, oh, how are we getting back? Well, it happened. It actually happened recently. So we were at Wat Ron, or at Wat Aran or whatever. Wat Aran. It's a temple in Bangkok.
Yeah.
And there's this Irwin, Earwan. He's
Three-headed elephant.
a three-headed elephant.
Sometimes five. Yeah.
Sometimes, yeah, three-headed elephant, whatever. And when we were there, all of a sudden I noticed at the top, he was at the top, all around, and he's not super like common. But he is a part of Buddhism, I believe, whatever. Anyway, he was at the top. And so all of a sudden I'm like, oh my gosh, Patrick. And I'm like looking up and I'm like trying to video and get closer and closer. And I'm climbing all these stairs and all these stairs. And we get up there and I'm like, oh, these are Thai stairs. These are made for Thai feet that are very, very tiny.
Thai feet.
Yes. And it wasn't like, oh, go up 10 stairs and then hit a level and then feel safe. And then another 10 stairs. No, it's like you're going to fall to your death if you don't walk down these stairs properly, like sideways and holding on to something. But the problem is there is no railing to hold on to, and you can't like hold on to these like ancient structures sticking out the side. Like that's also not cool either. But I bring this up because I literally like the whole way up was so focused and present in the moment with seeing this statue on this, and just really, because it was a statue I really connected with, or a god. A god? Is it considered a god? Please forgive me if you're watching this. Anyone who knows more. But I didn't even realize what the heck I was doing because I wasn't thinking. Because I was just fully in the present moment. Because I was just like laser focused.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, maybe you could say I was thinking about getting closer to him, but I wasn't thinking about that. I just was going. I just was like, here we go. So yeah. It's about not thinking. Mm-hmm. Weren't we talking at the last during book club? I think Cassidy brought this up, and this is interesting too. She was talking about how she felt like she was rambling, and then she cut herself off and said, but I think I've realized when I feel like I'm rambling and don't know what I'm saying, it's because spirit is speaking through me, because it tends to like resonate with it. And like she kind of went on this whole tangent, right? Didn't Cassidy say the last call?
Mm-hmm.
And so again, another example of not thinking. She just allowed, which I know this happens to me a lot too. Like when I'm in spirit, you just allow yourself to be channeled through, and you're like, what the heck am I even saying? Like, I'm not even aware of what I'm saying. I'm not thinking about it. I'm not processing it. It's just like coming out.
Right.
So not
it's how
thinking.
I passed my final.
What do you mean?
In one of my college finals, I had a presentation. It was like I forgot. It was a ranch management class. It was about like nutrition.
Ranch management? Like to manage a
Yeah,
ranch?
that's what it. Yeah, that's what it's called. It's only at TCU. It's like ranch management, something, something, something.
Okay.
But we're talking about like nutrition, and the group before we went were like, we have to do like 10 minutes, and they're like, we're not gonna get past 10 minutes. I said, don't worry, I got you. And then I started talking for like 6 of the minutes. I took up 6 minutes of the time.
Really?
Just talking about random like geography around the area because I took a class before, so I knew like just background information.
Yeah.
And I was just speaking, and nothing was processing up here.
It just flowed.
Right.
I love that.
So, yeah. No, I don't know if I responded to Cassidy, but I definitely agree with that. I said it's not really rambling. I think rambling is good because that's just when spirit is speaking and you're not conscious about, oh, am I taking up too much time or whatnot?
And I think it's the moment you become conscious of it that you think you're rambling, right? All of a sudden, it's like when the judgment comes in and your thoughts start to look at it and you're like, what the hell have I been saying? Like, I don't even know what I'm saying. And then it's like the ego kicks back in with the judgment. All about not being in the present moment. I mean, lately, I've really been struggling with not being in the present moment.
Why do you think that is?
Because just like I mean, when we connect with people and stuff, I've been doing well. But when it comes to the body has been a really, which I've talked about in our other calls as well. But the body has just really got a hold of me in regards to like ego thoughts and living in the past and predicting the future and pulling away from the present moment and all the stories. Yeah, but the second like I connect with someone or feel guided and spirit led, it's just so free and like it's like the body doesn't exist.
Yeah, I think it's like if you're used to being in a certain body and you're comfortable in that body and the body changes at all, then it's just like makes it harder because you're like one more perceived hurdle you have to overcome to feel comfortable. So I think it's just like another level of to get to feel like you're comfortable enough to be in the present moment, I guess. It's like you know. And I think that's why we're on this journey, is to overcome some of these like creature habits of always having like the food we want, like in the nice couch with the blanket and all that stuff, where it's like, okay, I have all this stuff and now I can be in the present. Now, you're not thinking that consciously, but it's like less hurdles. But now it's like we put like all these like barriers, perceived barriers over all this stuff. But in the long run it should pay off, right? So it's like, you know, so it's like being able to like deal with all this this adversity, and then still be able to like be in the present regardless of what's happening outside of to our body, or outside our body, or the environment might be noisier than you're used to, whatever it is. So
Yeah.
That's why monks have it mastered.
Right.
Yeah. But
because their living conditions are.
But do they? Oh, that's why they do have it mastered, because their living conditions are like everything's removed from it. Yeah.
Right.
Okay. I agree with that. Yes.
So when there's something, there's nothing to like take a hold of, because there's nothing of substance anywhere.
Yeah.
Or that's how they like live, and that's like their entire.
Yeah, it's like an optimal place. But if it's really in the mind, I mean, they end up finding it, or like running into the same stuff in the mind. I think just like what we're doing out in the real world could be like a sped up version of it, right? Because if it's in the mind, it doesn't matter what the outside actually looks like, other than to like activate the mind, activate like different things of the mind. So granted, they clear everything. It could be like, oh, a tiny little mosquito got in during meditation and they're not supposed to move, and it's like buzzing in their ear. You know what I mean? Like there's other little things that will come in to that moment. Well,
I like that one documentary you saw where the monk had to take off, or he didn't have to, but he felt inspired to like take off and travel for I don't know how many years.
4 years, I think.
Yeah,
he snuck out of his monastery.
Yeah, I forgot what they call it.
It's like a pilgrimage in a way. There's an actual name for it that monks will do, and he was a super famous monk too. Like he was one of the leading monks to teach meditation and stuff. So he's like well known in the world. But
maybe that's like their test to see like if they really get it. If they can go out all of a sudden, leave their comfort whatever environment, and see if they can just live on the path without anything, essentially, and just like relying on the environment and people for help to do what they need to do to survive. Maybe that's like the final test for them. But
yeah. I mean, I know for us, like living in the present moment, like Patrick said, it's one of those things that you can, like, you know, and what you said, Tommy, with like the monks and stuff, that you can set up like this perfect setup, right? Like we worked out every day, we ate really clean, but super simple, all this stuff. And then, you know, I thought, oh, I don't have any weight on the body anymore, right? And I didn't like actively consciously that I was aware of, until all of a sudden my body like ballooned, and I'm like, what the shit? Like now my focus is on the body constantly, when before it just was, but it never actually just was, because it's always one and the same.
It was because it was good.
Yeah.
It was good, so it was fine. But then it's not good, so now it's not fine anymore.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. So that's, I would say, the big battle.
Yeah.
For really being in the present moment. I think that's pulls me out like constantly. And I just keep.
And I think it is also a part of, I guess, the surrender, right? Where it's kind of just like letting go of every attachment that you have, including my body feeling good.
Yeah.
Right? It's like being okay with your body feeling bad.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, how do you get there?
I don't know.
One person
I mean,
that's
you
their
ask
body.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know. Well, that's what I keep doing. Keep handing it over, handing it over. We talked with David, asked David. I told Patrick the other day, spirits abandoned me. It's definitely an unwinding process, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that like coming back to like the Christmas piece and how we started this with, it being the celebration of the light within us all and staying in the present. Anyone watching this, like by no means is it going to be a light switch moment? I mean, it might be. It can be a holy instant for you. So I think like the biggest piece is really giving yourself grace and remembering the reason for the season, right? It's about presence. It's about the light within and how it's a celebration of the oneness and the celebration of truth and the celebration of the opportunity to true freedom in true life. Yeah. But presence. Gosh, I remember like before I ever really got into religion or the course or anything, people always said, remember, it's not about the presence, it's about the presence. And I was like, what? What do you mean it's about presence? It's about the presence. Give me some presence. Like that's what it's about. But now it all makes sense because it's really about just being in the present moment. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Thoughts, Tommy? Thoughts, Pat?
Yeah, I mean, that's really what I've been trying to do, I guess, this year. I guess last year too.
And the year before. No, I'm just kidding.
And the year before. Well, the year before, maybe it was unconscious.
Yeah. Alas, thousands of
But
lifetimes.
thousands of lifetimes. But I think a big thing for us, or I say us as in people, is we like to see evidence of things. So like for example, spirit working,
Yeah.
or like for example what you said, like spirit has left me because the body doesn't feel good.
Yeah.
It's like if your body felt good, then spirit is with you, because it's almost as if it's evidence that
Yeah.
spirit is with
Yeah.
you. And no matter how many times we receive the evidence, we'll always find a way back to almost deny it or to doubt it. And that's why I always like to go back to in the Bible. I've talked about it many times, but where Jesus was saying, "You saw me do all these miracles, but you still lack faith, or you still don't fully understand."
Mm-hmm.
And it really is. I feel like it really is that simple. Intellectually, it can't be that simple, but in truth and in Jesus and in faith, that is the only truth. It's just, I guess, full trust that everything's gonna be maybe not the way you like it, but just be, I guess, and just being will allow you to be.
Mm. Yeah.
But then it's easier said than done.
What's that
It's
quote?
easier to say, "Oh, just be."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Can you pull up the quotes that we saw on the thing today? There's a quote.
Oh,
I want to. Oh,
yeah. We saw this. You must have sparked a quote that we saw today. Um,
oh, there it is.
this one.
Yeah, we saw this quote today. If God brings you to it, he will bring you through it. So it's like what you're saying. He's there. He's not gonna abandon you. He brought, he's always been there for you. It's just, yeah, you have to have
Yeah,
faith.
It's your belief. It's like
yeah,
what you said. It's your belief.
Right. And he can't, it's not like he's just going to give you one thing after another and after another after another. But it always happens to work out
Mm.
in some way or fashion.
Yeah.
And then it makes sense afterwards.
Right. Yeah, I think I don't know what. So like the unwinding process, well, it comes and it's going to not be linear, but it's gonna like it's going to happen. Things are gonna have to happen for you to wake up, essentially. And some of that stuff isn't going to feel pleasant in the ego experience, but it's like a necessary evil or what per se, like the ego would see it like that to be able to wake up. I mean, a lot of, like, because it's like if you had always your creature comforts, um, that might be okay for someone to like, but it's gonna like another lesson's gonna need to happen to be able to get it. It's like the game where, um, the movie The Game that we were talking about, I think last call. It's like he had to like perceive to lose all his possessions and all this stuff happened to him for him to find joy and love again. And that's essentially what spirit's trying to do if you're consciously making that decision to want to wake up, that type of stuff. Whenever, I mean, not as extreme as the game probably, but certain things are gonna feel unpleasant, for just as like a way of like slowly trying to wake you up. But none of it's like has value anyway. So it's like you have to be able to like realize that it's valueless anyway, regardless of what it is.
Right. It's only the value you place on it. So, like you're saying, like it appears through the ego lens when you view it from the ego that it's sacrifice or pain or loss or all these things, but in fact, it's just a necessary part of the equation for you to remember truth and to wake up. And if you look through it through the spirit's eyes, you can see everything is always working for the good. But when you look at it through the ego's eyes, you see yourself as an individual and being attacked in your body,
Right.
losing out on things or being hurt or all these things.
And then like, yeah, you'll like have things happen or whatever. Then all of a sudden you'll have like a miracle happen. You're like, oh wow. So like it's like a reassurance also. And then like I feel like there's a point where it feels like there's more darkness. And then I feel like once you get, you know, like where David is and like all, like the more and more, it's like all of a sudden like more miracles show up.
When you start seeing
You
them,
start seeing them more because your perception
has changed.
has changed essentially. So it's like they are always there, but you just can't see them.
You saw them differently.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. And I think that's what they would call like the dark night of the soul. Many people, like in the New Age movement, seek out a dark night of the soul by like creating it. But truly, I think what the dark night of the soul is when your prayer in your heart is so strong to awaken or to escape the game or to leave the matrix or to remember God. Like whatever that prayer is, it has to be so strong on your heart that spirit starts to do the unwinding. But the problem is you're still so much in the ego, you're viewing everything still from a place of individuality and sacrifice. So it feels like a dark night of the soul because you're seeing all of this shift and movement through darkness, through your lens of darkness. And then where like David and other people are, it's the same exact things, I guess you could say, right? Same. It's just their perspective is that of seeing the miracles and seeing the joy and the beauty because they're no longer coming from a place of the ego.
Right.
And now they have fully shifted through. Because David was talking about, this is a tangent now, but we were talking to David the other day, and this woman, he said she just like went all in and just started watching videos and reading the course like all day, every day for 9 months straight. And he said the transference was crazy, of information. And people started talking about just how she was glowing so great. And now she's become a teacher of the course at the monastery. And Pat said something about like, how do you know when someone is really like shifted that mindset, you know, from that of like fully in the ego to mostly in spirit. And he said they glow. There's just this glow that they give off. Yeah.
So the greatest compliment I'll ever receive is like, you're glowing.
Right. Like, I want to glow today.
I might be 50 pounds heavier than I am now, but as long as I'm glowing.
But at least I'm glowing.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh,
I just want to be a glow stick.
I just want to be a glow stick. That's it. Tommy, I hope I can glow one day. Yeah, but it's trusting and getting through these moments. And I think having community and connection is so important, which again brings us to Christmas. I think that's why people love Christmas so much, is there's so much connection that happens during the Christmas season that doesn't usually happen. Like families connect and rekindle that that had fought all year, and there's just so much harmony that even if it's false for the day, like Uncle Ted doesn't talk about the election and gets along with Aunt Susie for one day, like that's like people like that's huge, because I think it's a reminder of the oneness, but they don't know what that is. Most people consciously don't know. They're just like, oh yeah, it's great. Did you see that Ted didn't say anything about the election? Thank God. I was so worried about Aunt Susie and her going unhinged and, throwing the cat like last year. You know what I mean? Like, who knows? But I could make a whole story. What would happen? Oh, final thoughts, guys. I don't even know. This video is all over the place, so hopefully anyone who tunes in,
very all over the place.
yeah, anyone who tunes in, please share below if you had any takeaways. And we
My
hope
takeaway is to give up.
to give up. Give up what?
To give up. Just give up.
I feel like we need some clarity here, Tommy.
No, I mean like I don't know. I don't know what else to say than give up. Not like kill myself, but
What? Just like stop, like surrender, you mean? Like the word surrender?
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I like give up.
Okay, so give up control.
Give up.
Give up. Tommy's given up for the year.
Yeah.
Is that your
That's
word
my
for
New Year's resolution.
Is that your 2025? Is it 2025 coming up? Is that your
Yeah,
2025 word? Give up?
Give up.
Yeah. Give up. I like that. I like that for you.
I think it's an evolution from legendary.
Yeah, it's very it's like a polar opposite. Oh my gosh. Like if we could have a whole conversation, because your legendary one is about making sure everything you do is legendary, and now you're giving up.
It's like,
this is like the complete opposite. That is so good. Oh my gosh. I'm gonna have to get a hold of some paints and paint that one for you so you can like have the polarity. Oh. Well,
Maybe giving up will make everything legendary.
Ooh. That's a good one. They do say time is operating backwards. So
Okay.
giving up would go backwards into legendary. It'd be perfect. Any final other thoughts other than giving up?
That's it for me.
Pat, any final thoughts?
I had a thought, but I forgot. I'm trying to think about it. Oh yeah, I had a thought. I don't know. This occurred to me. Like another thing, I don't know. Heard it probably from David. I'm assuming everything comes from him. But like, you can't wake yourself up from the dream. You can only choose to be awakened. So it's like you have to like, because it's like you want to sit in bed at night and be like, all right, I'm gonna wake up. I'm gonna wake up tonight. I'm gonna wake up. And it's like it doesn't work like that.
He's probably speaks from experience.
Yeah, I've tried it a few times and I'm still here.
So that goes perfectly. That goes perfectly with Tommy's plan to give up.
Yeah, exactly.
You just
So,
go to
like-
just stay sleeping. Just go to sleep.
I don't think that's it. But Tommy is giving up,
Right.
like surrendering.
Yeah, you have to surrender.
To be woken up, right? To
Right.
stop trying to wake himself up and to allow himself to be woken up.
Right.
Yeah.
So anyway,
All
let's give up. Wake up.
Yeah. Now I think we're just going loopy. So thank you for tuning in, anyone who has tuned in. And we hope you have an amazing holiday. And remember the light within you and within all and the oneness, and to really focus on being in the present moment through this holiday season. And I would invite you every single day, like Tommy said, like, what's the difference between tomorrow and Christmas Day versus right this moment you're listening to this? So thank you for tuning in. We come once a month, sometimes live, sometimes recorded and posted now that we are traveling abroad. But so much love. Thank you for tuning in.